Just like that, November creeped on us. Yesterday was the heart of summer. We were enjoying the weather. We were sowing, harvesting, planting, all the good stuff. And now it's grey. It's wet. And it's cold. But if you have a cold frame or a greenhouse, there are still a lot of things that you can actually sow or plant. And if you don't, well, there's still a few bits and pieces. So let me show you. Okay, so the first thing that I should probably mention is this is what I am sowing. It doesn't mean that it's the only thing. It doesn't mean that you've got to do the exact same. It's genuinely, I'm sowing those because this is what I'm going to be using and what I like. There is more than that. There is probably things that you're not interested in doing or you're not able to do. That's absolutely fine. The first thing that I'm going to be doing is peas, and holding the packet carefully because it's actually wet. So the peas I'm doing are Meteor. The reason I'm doing Meteor is because those ones are winter hardy, and that's very important. If you are sowing peas now, you must get winter hardy varieties. Winter hardy doesn't mean that they will grow through winter and you will be able to harvest them then, unfortunately. What it means that is they will be able to survive and get a kickstart much earlier in the season than you would normally. At this time of the year, they will be staying here in the greenhouse. They are not on the heat mats, they are just left in this unheated greenhouse over winter, just watered when the weather is okay. When it gets too cold or where there's risk of frost, I just stop the watering completely. They will be absolutely fine. They're not going to be dry anyway, they're going to stay damp. So that's absolutely fine. And in early spring, that means that I can just get them out, plant them, and give or take late May, early June, you will get your first harvest of peas. Then in early spring, I do my main sowing of peas, which then get harvested in July, August, and all the way through to ideally late September, depending on the weather. You can also do them in a cold frame. It doesn't need to be in a greenhouse. If you've got a cold frame, if you've got a polytunnel or something like that, you can absolutely do them. The one thing I would say is do not do them indoor, because they will get very leggy. They will get too much of a kickstart and then you will lose them with the first frost. It's probably best to wait until spring or late winter at that point and do a spring one rather than a winter hardy one. The next one I'm doing, and again this is all about giving me a kickstart for next season, is spring onions. Choose winter hardy spring onions. Again, the same than peas, you want those winter hardy ones so they make it through the winter, right? White Lisbon, some of them are branded winter hardy, but I've done regular white Lisbon before, was great success, so I just happen to have some winter hardy. What I will get is a nice clump in early spring that will be harvested, give or take, it really depends on the weather again, but around about mid-spring. I sow them in module, quite thick, and then I'm just going to let them grow on like that, and then just use them as plugs, and then plant them in just a wee group somewhere, or even in a pot or something like that. So if we've got a big spell of cold coming back, then I can move them back in here. I did mention I'm showing you what I'm sowing, but actually I'm going to mention one that I am not sowing. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because I know in the comments I will have someone that will be mentioning, what about broad beans? Well, I do not like broad beans, so I'm not doing any broad beans. But yes, this is a really good one to do at this time of the year. You can either do them inside and then grow them on until early spring. Again, same than peas. Maybe bring them out a bit before, actually, around about early March to mid-March. You can bring them out and then have a really early crop of broad beans. The other thing that you can do is sow them straight away outside and use them as a winter green manure. And on the subject of things that I don't do, I don't normally do winter lettuce. The main reason is and I've mentioned that before in the vlogs, so if you follow the channel, you probably heard me mentioning that before. I struggle with growing lettuce. Not so much growing the lettuce, but I find them more often than not quite bitter, and I don't enjoy the taste as much. And I'm talking about lettuce all year round, not specifically winter lettuce. I'm not sure if the fact that they're more bitter, even more bitter than the summer one, is to do with maybe the lack of light. I'm not exactly sure. If you know, let me know in the comment. I would love to know the actual reason for that, or if it's just, well, winter lettuce are meant to be super bitter and you're not meant to enjoy lettuce in the winter. I am going to do winter lettuce this year. I'm going to do one called Arctic King. The main reason is, well, I've got seeds sitting here. I got them through Garden Answers, so might as well just use them. And also, when I was reading at the back of the packet, they are apparently not as bitter as other ones are. So I'm going to give them a try. But what I'm going to do, because you can do them at this time in the greenhouse or in a cold frame, and then bring them on in the garden in early spring. I might do that, but what I might try to do is grow some as winter leaves that I'm going to keep here in the greenhouse. I might actually even put some on the heat mat eventually, just to see if I can harvest a few leaves like that. This next one is an obvious choice, and you're probably wondering at this point why I've not mentioned it yet. Sweet peas. Sweet peas, you can sow them at this time of the year to give them a kickstart, and then sow another batch. That's usually what I do anyway, sow another batch in early spring. If I remember, I sow them in the greenhouse. If I forget, it's a bit later in spring and I sow them directly. Sowing them directly is very hit or miss for me, but I usually do them. And I tend to have actually a really good result from the one that I sow in autumn or in October or November. The last year was just a complete failure, but to be fair, the spring one were also a failure. So I'm not sure if it's to do with the seeds. Obviously, those are fresh packets of seeds, so hopefully they'll be a bit better. But this year I'm doing old-fashioned and horizon. I don't know why I'm saying this year, because that's what I do every single year. Old-fashioned horizon, and I've got another one which I'm going to be doing later on, but they're actually not mine. They're my daughter's. It's Galaxy, and we're going to do those ones as well. I've never done the Galaxy before, so we'll see what they're like. When you sow them, you want to do them in root trainer. It's probably the best way to sow them. They're going to have plenty of space to grow. You might want to bring them in if it's not warm enough, or if it's really, really cold, more likely. You might want to start them inside and keep them inside for a week or so, just to give them a wee kickstart to germinate again. Same than the peas. You don't want to bring that inside for too long, because they're going to get really leggy. And again, you can pinch them, but there's so much pinching that you can do until the plant start to suffer. Back to the veg. So this next one is actually two. It's onion and garlic. Onion and garlic, I don't have any to show you in here because I've already planted them. You do them in October or November. That's usually around about the time that you would do them. You can actually start them in September as well. I've done mine at the allotment about a week and a half ago. I've done some in the greenhouse just under a week ago. And I'm talking about sets, not seeds. The seeds will be in December. Spoiler, this will be in next video. So I have mentioned that I've got some here in the greenhouse, which you can see here. They're just planted as normal, just with the neck popping up. But the ideal thing is to plant them straight in the ground. They will do much better if they're straight in the ground, as long as your ground is not waterlogged. They could rot. But if you have too many, like me, then nothing stops you to start a few in plugs like that you will be, or in module that you will use as plugs later on to put an extra or to replace a few dead one, or like me, the one that been picked by the birds already. Obviously, when I mention onion and garlic, I should also mention shallots. This is not something that I do. I don't particularly enjoy shallot. I don't have any problem with Charlotte. Whoever you are, Charlotte, I don't have any problem with you. I don't have any problem with shallots, but I much prefer using onions. I don't tend to buy shallots specifically. Well, I know they're not exactly the same, but to me, you know, it's half a dozen shallots, onion, shallots. So I grow onions, I grow shallot, I grow garlic, and this year I'm doing red and yellow onions. Usually I would do just yellow onions and then the red in spring, but this year I'm doing both as autumn one, and I'm going to do some more in the spring as well. Right, so we've been talking, apart from the sweet peas, we've basically just been talking about veg, but there is also flowers that can be sown at this time of the year. And the one flower, or the one group of flower that I'm thinking of first of all is wildflower. And I've got my wildflower mix, which we've done together, which I'm going to be sowing next week at the allotment. This is the right time just now. Again, those seeds need stratification. I mentioned that in the video where I'm explaining about the mix. They need stratification. Stratification is this period of cold that hit the seed and help it germinate. So if you want to do some wildflowers, you really want to sow them round about October, November, up until maybe mid-December. It just depends how quickly the frost hit you and how hard the frost will hit you. But usually I quite like doing them late October, early November. This is usually a good time for me because we miss the hard, although it's raining just now, we miss the heavy rain from the early October that I usually get in here, and it's just before the frost kicks in, so I usually give them a better start. And there is one more flower or group of flower again that can be sown or more likely planted at this time of the year. It's spring bulbs. It's the perfect time now to sow or to plant your spring bulbs. Obviously, you can start round about September and throughout October, and let's say up until mid-November. You can even stretch up until again mid-December, but it gets a bit tricky when the ground gets frozen solid for most of the bulbs. But November is the perfect time to do your tulips. You don't want to do them too early because they might get a kickstart and then die off when the frost comes in. So November is usually the perfect time to get your tulips down in the ground. I still need to go and buy mine. I'm definitely gonna get more tulips this year. What I have done though is my daffodils. I've added more daffodils in the garden. I wasn't filming all that bit because it's in the garden at home, so it's not part of the channel, to be fair. So I've not done it, I've not filmed that bit, but I definitely would recommend now is the time to get your spring bulbs sorted. And just like that, I'm wrapping up the video and realized that I forgot that red glowing thing over there. Microgreens. Microgreens is a perfect one to do in the winter, November, December, January, throughout the winter. You can do them inside. In my case, I do them here on heat mats, so they get a bit of heat, they get the light. I would not do them here in the heart of winter, absolutely not. They would be done indoor. But at this time of the year, they are doing absolutely fine. Those ones are not even a week old, to be fair, and they are doing absolutely fine. So microgreens is definitely one that you can absolutely do. And talking about the microgreens, well, it just depends if you see this video in the future or if you see it when it's been released. If it's just been released, well, give me a couple of days and I will be coming out with a video specifically on microgreens. And if you're watching this video in the future, well, you're in luck. Look about on the channel and you will find a video on the microgreen. Definitely an easy crop to do that I would recommend for everyone to do. So as I've mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is what I'm doing in the garden, not what you should be doing. And this is definitely not the only thing that can be sown or planted at this time of the year. This is what I am doing. So if you have any question, ping it in the comment. But more than happy to answer your question. If you have a favorite one that I've not been mentioning here and you think I should be trying it, let me know in the comment as well. Thank you for watching today. If you have liked this video, I would appreciate if you leave a thumb up. I would also appreciate if you subscribe to the channel and make sure to tick the bell so you know when the next videos are out. In the meantime, go and check out this video. If you like this one, I'm sure you will like that video as well. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy gardening. Bye.